All right, let's talk about the relationship between sexuality in the past and the present and future relationships. I got 3 movies off the top of my head I'm going to give to you. Failure to Launch, Matthew McConaughey. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, him again. Jerry Maguire, played by Tom Cruise. What do 3 of these guys have in common? The characters they play are immature men who have an inability or an unwillingness or an inability to have mature relationships in the present. Why? Because of wrong relationships in the past. And this tends to be a trend in culture today. Our sexuality in the past has an adverse effect on our present relationships and our future relationships. It is true, it's not what we intend, nor is what we want, but there is a relationship between sexual promiscuity and the depth of our relationships in the present. If there's not an intervention, if there's not a change, information will get you so far, transformation will go a much longer way. When we begin to give ourselves away, we have less to give in the future. Look at it that way. Be that on a physical level, a sexual level, an intimate level, an emotional level, a psychological level. Our biggest fear in life, for the most part, is that we're going to end up alone, or worse yet, lonely. And we fight that at every step of the way. Here's another word that becomes very prevalent when we start to have multiple relationships with people. Projection. We tend to project the negative qualities of our previous relationships on our present or future relationships. We take the garbage and the baggage of someone in our past and we grow to expect that in the present or in the future, and we project upon those people those qualities. We have to watch that. This is a big thing in counseling. Pornography in the past changes our perception of the opposite sex in the present and in the future. A pornographic past and a saturation and immersion in pornography causes us to objectify other people, take not into consideration their feelings, their emotions, intimacy, secrets, trust factors. And we tend to possess people more because of pornography in human culture. Our physical issues that we have in the past can affect our future relationships. I know a lot of people who have made mistakes sexually and they have contracted herpes or some other physical ailment that now limits their potential for relationships in the future. It's all interwoven. That's why I say we're not just talking about something for the sake of talking about it. We're talking about something for preserving and protecting the long-term future of your relationships with people in the future, be they marriage or not. We are affected by our relationships one with another. Maybe you have friends that are caught up in this pattern. Let's think about ways you can help them, talk to them. Maybe you know yourself all too well, and you've got to have some intervention of some kind. You've got to have someone sit down and talk to you and start answering the questions. Why you do what you do? What's your motivation? And what are the effects of those choices that you're making in life? You've got to care, as do I have to care about myself, enough to look at the choices that I'm making to see how they affect my potential for intimacy and love in the future. Remember Jerry Maguire. Remember Failure to Launch. Remember How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Is that you lacking the maturity to have the depth of a relationship in the present and in the future that you desperately want? How do we turn that around? Well, I happen to know by experience, you turn that around by a relationship, an introduction and an ongoing relationship with a God who died for you, namely Christ, that helps reform and resculpt and transform the way we think, feel, and desire, body, soul, and spirit. Think about these things and think about your life. Remember, we're thinking objectively about where you are in contrast to where you could be and certainly where you want to be. Think about that. What about future relationships?